Hello friends, this week I bring you the review of Chapter 25 of Baki Rahen. This time, we will see how Jack Hanma and the indestructible Hanayama come face to face for the first time. In the previous chapter, we had a brief fight between Jack Hanma and the prehistoric caveman Pickle. The enormous Pickle had taken Jack by surprise and was biting him forcefully while holding onto his body, locking him with his legs and arms. Jack made no movement, he was simply standing there while Pickle bit his left shoulder. Mitsunari tried to calm the situation, but there was nothing he could do to stop these two monsters. Pickle seemed to be challenging Jack to a fight in the streets of Tokyo. However, with a quick movement, the cyborg managed to escape from his opponent's grasp. He had moved with such speed that even when he moved, Pickle remained suspended in the air. This action shows us that Jack's enormous size and weight are not an impediment to his ability to move with great speed. Jack stood in a fighting stance and quickly struck Pickle with a massive right punch that sent him flying through the air. The caveman crashed heavily to the ground, however, he did not receive significant damage and managed to stand up again. Both men were facing each other to continue the fight, but someone arrived at the scene to calm the situation. Hanayama was the man who appeared in the middle of the fight and asked these two beasts to leave this brawl for today. It had been enough. That is how the previous chapter ended. This week's chapter begins by showing Hanayama standing between the two warriors who were about to continue their fight. He extends his hands to separate these two giants and respectfully says that they should leave this altercation aside. Mitsunari watches in astonishment as Hanayama decided to intervene in the fight between these two giants. The mafia leader had stepped in with great confidence and authority. Hanayama proposes to Jack and Pickle to stop what they were doing and postpone the fight for another time and more appropriate place. Meanwhile, Mitsunari observes how this man takes control of the situation in an elegant and calm manner. Everyone remains still and silent. Hanayama's imposing presence had cooled the situation. Both the fighters and the passers-by look on in surprise. Some people thought he was the director of a movie and had interrupted a scene. Others managed to recognize him by the scars on his face. Hanayama suggests taking the encounter to a more suitable place, where they can demonstrate their skills without interruptions or obstacles. Despite the proposal, these two giants look at him in disbelief. Jack did not seem to know who Hanayama was. The caveman, on the other hand, began to think that this face looked familiar. The old man looks nervous, thinking that Pickle or Jack might react aggressively against this intruder who had interrupted their fight. He reflects on how, despite Hanayama being a gigantic fighter, he now looked much shorter than Jack and Pickle. However, that size difference had not stopped him, and he had stood between these beasts. Hanayama continues speaking, stating that the place they were in is for behaving as respectable citizens, a place to enjoy and have fun, not suitable for fights. He also adds that it is his territory, and he cannot allow a fight of this caliber in his streets. Jack and Pickle do not react, they simply watch him attentively. Although Pickle did not understand the current human language, he seemed to grasp the general idea of what Hanayama was communicating. This caught his attention. Pickle was intrigued and excited by everything Hanayama had mentioned. Pickle, finally remembering who the man in front of him was, smiles and begins to move slowly towards Hanayama. In a quick movement, the caveman lunges at him with a frontal attack, just as he had done in the past. That was his way of showing joy at seeing him again. The crowd watches this collision in astonishment. Pickle had decided to attack who they thought was a film director. However, Hanayama refuses to yield and, with the strength of his legs, stops Pickle's attack. Both remain standing in the middle of the street. Pickle embraces Hanayama's torso with a slight smile on his face. Pickle decides to stop his attack and with his hands, gives Hanayama a friendly wave, placing one hand on his shoulder and the other on his head. Hanayama, with a slight smile, asks Pickle if he remembers him or if he was just testing him. Hanayama comments that Pickle is still incredibly strong while recalling their previous encounter where they measured their strength with the frontal attack. The primitive man responds to this compliment with a friendly smile, showing that he had indeed recognized him. The crowd notices this and starts wondering if that man is a friend of the caveman. Suddenly, Hanayama approaches Jack with a very confident attitude, hands in his pockets, and proceeds to greet him by calling him Big Fella, referring to his large size, not indicating a friendly relationship. With a somewhat mocking tone, Hanayama asks Jack if he can understand his words, as if comparing him to Pickle due to his enormous stature. Jack Hanma remains calm. But upon hearing those words, he wonders who this individual is and why he speaks to him with such familiarity. The cyborg does not seem to recognize him. In his mind, Jack can only think about how, despite being 2 heads taller and having a larger physical build, this man has the courage to confront him in that manner. Hanayama places his right hand on Jack's shoulder, a gesture that further surprises the biting cyborg, and then turns to head towards Mitsunari. Jack continues to question who this man is, as he shows no fear whatsoever in his presence. Jack expresses his amazement in his mind about this man in a white suit, as he had never met anyone like him before. Jack doesn't say a word, just watches him intently. He realizes that this individual seems to know the old man well, even kneeling in front of him to speak directly. Hanayama tells him that they should take the fight to the underground arena, as that was what the old man wanted. Mitsunari asks Hanayama if he would like to be a spectator of that fight. Hanayama responds that after helping to stop this fight, he cannot leave without getting something in return, implying that he wants a front row seat to witness this epic fight. Hanayama stands up and begins to walk away from the 2 beasts, while the present crowd looks at him with admiration. Pickle, Jack, and Mitsunari stand there, watching him closely. Suddenly, Jack breaks the silence to ask the old man something. Jack expresses his curiosity about who that man in the white suit was. Mitsunari proceeds to explain that the young man is a professional fighter, specializing in street fights. Jack remains thoughtful for a moment. He could understand that this individual was an experienced fighter, but given his elegant way of speaking, he would never have imagined that he was a street fighter. Mitsunari comments that, in fact, that man in the white suit was the complete opposite of him. Hanayama was a fighter with a philosophy completely opposite to Jack's. Now the cyborg was very intrigued to know why he said he was his opposite. Mitsunari changes the subject before Jack can ask anything else. He jokes and asks the giants if they were really eager to fight again. The old man asks them to be patient and promises that, without a doubt, the 2 of them will cross their fangs once more where it all began. The chapter ends with an image of the underground arena completely empty, indicating that the fight between Jack and Pickle will be without an audience, just like their first fight. Only Hanayama and Mitsunari will witness this clash of titans. Well, friends, it seems that the fight between Jack and Pickle will be behind closed doors. Hanayama requested to observe the fight alongside the old man, which means he is interested in knowing who might be the winner to perhaps measure his strength against them in the future. It would be great if Yujiro and Baki attended the arena to watch Jack fight. The ogre only saw Jack fight in the maximum tournament. After that, he never watched his fights again. It would be good if he went to the arena this time to see what Jack is capable of now. Let's focus on what we saw in this chapter. Hanayama undoubtedly behaved like a true Chad. The guy arrived, stood between the 2 beasts, and practically told them that this was his house and to please go fight somewhere else. Pickle seems to have respect for this man. He compares him to the strength of a triceratops, which is why he greeted him with a frontal attack. They never fought, but the cavemen can recognize the great power of this young mafia leader. Many were confused when Jack said he didn't know Hanayama, but the truth is they had never spoken to each other. The only time they were in the same place was during the maximum tournament. However, even then, they never encountered each other or exchanged words. During that time, Jack was solely focused on Baki and Yujiro, so it's understandable that he didn't notice the other tournament participants. Jack was very intrigued after meeting Hanayama. Despite being 2 heads shorter than him, that guy showed not the slightest hint of fear. In fact, he even had a dominant attitude by saying he wouldn't allow fights in his territory. I think this confrontation is something we've all been waiting for a long time. Jack Hanma versus Hanayama is, without a doubt, a dream fight that we've all wanted to see, and now there are finally great possibilities that it will happen. I don't know how the fight between Jack and Pickle will end, but after this, I want Hanayama to be Jack's next opponent. But well, leave your opinions in the comment box. What did you think of Hanayama's dominant attitude in this chapter? Do you think he's really interested in fighting Jack Hanma? I don't know if Hanayama knows who Jack is, but it would be fun if Baki told him that he is his brother. That would add more excitement to the challenge. And well, friends, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked it. I hope you have a nice day or night. See you soon.